In this lesson, we'll start working with views and layouts. In Android, a user interface consists of views. An application screen is the parent view, and each UI element on the screen is also a view. So, views can contain child views. We saw in building the Hello World app that we had to set the activities view by using the setContentView method. That set the UI's parent view for the activity. When we added the button, we are adding a child view to the parent view. Layouts determine the arrangement of controls within a view. There are several different types of layouts. We'll start with linear layouts, both vertical and horizontal. We'll start by building a vertical linear layout, which is the default view when you add a layout resource to a project. Here we have an empty vertical layout. We'll start by adding a text view, which is essentially a label. Then we'll add a text box, and finally we'll add a button. Note that the controls added themselves in a vertical arrangement. Now the button looks a little bit odd with its width all the way across the screen. So we'll change its width from fill parent to wrap content. Now it's over there on the left, which isn't great either. So we will change its layout gravity. And the layout gravity is essentially its alignment. And we want to change that gravity to center horizontal. So now the button is centered horizontally within the view. And finally, it's a little bit close to the text box. So we want to change its margin at the top to 10 device independent pixels, and that moves it down a little bit. So now let's take a look at the source code that we've generated. First, we do have a linear layout, and that layout's orientation is vertical. The layout's width and height are both fill parent, which means they are going to fill the entire screen. The first control we added was a text view, and its width is fill parent, but you can't really tell because of the text doesn't go all the way across the screen. The next thing we added was an edit text, which again has a width of fill parent, and you can see on that one because of the text box borders. And finally we have the button, and we changed its width to wrap content, and we changed its gravity to center horizontal, and we added a little bit of margin. So that's what a vertical layout looks like. Now let's go back to the design view and put in a horizontal layout. And we'll drag that below the button, and it gives us a little horizontal rectangle to add controls into. We're going to add the same 3 controls. We'll start with the text view. Then we'll add the text box. And finally we'll add the button. You'll note that the text box width was set to wrap content this time automatically. Now let's take a look at the XML that we've generated. And you can see that our parent layout is still the vertical linear layout, and then the horizontal layout that we added is actually a child of that vertical layout. Within the horizontal layout, we have our text view, edit text, and button. So back to the designer. We want to change the text box so that it's spread out. So we're going to change its width to fill parent. And you'll note that it fills all sorts of stuff. So that's not exactly what we're looking for. We'll change another attribute of it called layout weight. And we'll change that to a 1. And when we do that, it'll get the text box so that it fills only the area in between the label control and the button. So that looks much better. The layout weight sets the priority of fill parent views within a linear view. So you can see that the width is set according to the weight. If I want to spread that text view's width out a little bit, I can also change it to fill parent and then give it a weight that's a little bit lower priority than the text box weight. And you can see that the widths are set based on those priorities. Setting specific pixel values is generally frowned upon, and so using weights is the preferred method. You can do a lot with linear layouts, but sometimes you need more control. We'll discuss table and relative layouts in upcoming lessons.